Did you know thousands of California residents are paying fines in 2026 for mistakes they didn't even realize were illegal? Not reckless crimes, not dangerous behavior, just normal daily habits, the kind of things people do every single day without thinking twice. But here's the scary part. Enforcement has quietly changed. Cameras are smarter, complaints are taken more seriously, and penalties that used to be warnings are now turning into hundreds or even thousands of dollars in fines almost overnight. Imagine walking back to your car and finding a ticket that costs more than your monthly utility bill. Imagine receiving a notice weeks later for something you barely remember doing. This is happening because California is shifting toward automated enforcement, AI monitoring, and stricter local penalties, catching people off guard in ways that feel almost unfair. The worst part? Most people don't find out until the fine is already issued. In this video, we're breaking down 10 everyday mistakes that could quietly drain your wallet in 2026, and the final one is something almost everyone does. If you value staying informed and protecting your money, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you're watching from, because awareness today could save you thousands tomorrow. Number 10. Driving behavior flagged by AI traffic monitoring. One of the most surprising changes drivers are facing in 2026 is the quiet expansion of AI-powered traffic monitoring systems that can flag behavior most people would never consider dangerous. Many drivers assume enforcement only happens when a police officer is physically present, but that assumption is quickly becoming outdated. Today, smart cameras and data-driven monitoring tools are capable of detecting patterns like rolling stops, aggressive lane changes, repeated hard braking, tailgating, and even subtle speeding trends over time. What makes this particularly unsettling is that drivers may not receive an immediate ticket. Instead, behavior can be logged, analyzed, and later used to justify warnings, fines, or insurance-related consequences, creating a situation where people feel penalized without a clear moment of wrongdoing. Authorities argue that this shift is driven by safety data, showing that micro-aggressive driving behaviors often contribute to accidents more than obvious violations. As a result, enforcement is focusing less on single extreme actions and more on repeated risky patterns. This means a driver who believes they are simply keeping up with traffic could unknowingly be creating a digital record of behavior that appears unsafe when analyzed collectively. In high-density areas, AI monitoring is also being used to identify congestion-causing habits, which can lead to additional penalties or targeted enforcement zones designed to change driver behavior rather than just punish it. To protect yourself, the safest approach is adopting smooth, predictable driving habits at all times, complete stops, gradual lane transitions, maintaining proper following distance, and avoiding sudden acceleration whenever possible. Think of it this way, you are no longer just driving past officers, you are driving inside a system that remembers patterns. Awareness and consistency are quickly becoming the most powerful tools drivers have to avoid unexpected financial consequences. Number 9. Home surveillance misuse complaints. Home security cameras have become a normal part of everyday life, giving people a sense of safety and control over their property. But in 2026, many homeowners are discovering that improper use of home surveillance systems can actually lead to complaints, legal warnings, and in some cases, costly fines. The issue is not the camera itself, it is where the camera is pointed and what it captures. Neighbors are increasingly filing privacy complaints when cameras appear to record private areas, such as windows, backyards, shared walkways, or spaces where people reasonably expect privacy. What feels like harmless security monitoring to one person can feel like intrusive surveillance to someone else, and local regulations are starting to take these concerns far more seriously than in the past. Part of the crackdown is being driven by the rapid improvement in camera technology. Modern devices now include high zoom capability, night clarity, motion tracking, and audio recording, which significantly increases privacy risks. Audio recording in particular has triggered many disputes because some jurisdictions treat recording conversations without consent as a violation, even when it happens unintentionally through a security device. Complaints can escalate quickly, leading to formal warnings, required camera adjustments, or financial penalties if authorities determine the setup crosses privacy boundaries. Many homeowners are shocked to learn that simply installing a camera for protection does not automatically make all recording lawful. To avoid problems, homeowners should focus on camera positioning and privacy-conscious setup. Angling cameras strictly toward entry points, disabling unnecessary audio recording, and using privacy masking features can significantly reduce complaint risks. It is also wise to communicate openly with neighbors, so security measures do not create tension or suspicion. In a time where safety technology is becoming more powerful, responsible usage is just as important as protection itself.
Number 8. Failure to yield to micro-mobility vehicles. A growing number of drivers are being caught off guard by fines related to micro-mobility vehicles, including e-scooters, electric bikes, delivery robots, and other small personal transport devices that are now deeply integrated into California streets. What once felt like a minor inconvenience on the road has quickly turned into a serious enforcement priority in 2026. Many drivers still treat these vehicles as unpredictable obstacles rather than legitimate road users, leading to situations where they fail to yield at intersections, make unsafe turns near bike lanes, or pass too closely without realizing the legal consequences. Authorities are responding to rising accident data and public safety concerns by increasing monitoring and issuing penalties for drivers who do not respect the right-of-way of these smaller vehicles. Part of the challenge is how rapidly micromobility has expanded. Cities have redesigned streets with protected lanes, shared pathways, and priority crossing zones, yet drivers operating out of habit may overlook these changes. Even a brief moment of impatience, squeezing past an e-bike, turning across a scooter's path, or blocking a designated lane can now trigger complaints, camera evidence, or enforcement action. Because many micromobility devices are used by commuters and delivery workers, incidents are more likely to be reported, documented, and escalated. Drivers often believe they were simply navigating traffic normally, only to discover that the law views the situation very differently. The safest strategy is to treat micromobility vehicles with the same caution given to pedestrians. Slow down near lanes, check mirrors carefully before turning, and allow extra space when passing. A few seconds of patience can prevent both accidents and unexpected financial penalties. If this mistake surprised you, drop a comment below and share whether micromobility traffic has increased in your area. And if you want to stay ahead of hidden fines and new road rules, make sure to subscribe and like the video, because awareness today can protect your wallet tomorrow. Number 7. Dash cam and privacy-related violations. Dash cams have become incredibly popular among drivers looking to protect themselves from accidents, insurance disputes, and road incidents. However, in 2026, many drivers are beginning to realize that using a dash cam without understanding privacy boundaries can create unexpected legal risks. The problem is not simply recording the road, it is how footage is captured, stored, and shared. In certain situations, dash cams that record audio inside the vehicle or capture identifiable individuals outside the vehicle can raise consent and privacy concerns, especially when footage is uploaded publicly or used in disputes without proper awareness of local rules. Drivers often assume dash cams are purely defensive tools, but authorities and privacy advocates are increasingly focused on how these recordings affect bystanders and passengers. One of the biggest areas of concern involves audio recording inside the vehicle. Passengers may be unaware that conversations are being recorded, and in some cases, this can lead to complaints or disputes if recordings are shared without consent. Additionally, mounting placement can become an issue if the dash cam obstructs the driver's view, potentially leading to separate citations unrelated to privacy but still costly. Another emerging concern involves social media sharing. Posting footage that clearly identifies faces, license plates, or private property can trigger complaints, especially if the content portrays individuals in a negative or confrontational situation. What begins as an attempt to document an incident can quickly escalate into accusations of privacy invasion or misuse of recorded material. To reduce risk, drivers should focus on responsible recording practices, positioning the dashcam safely, limiting unnecessary audio capture, and thinking carefully before sharing footage publicly. Dashcams remain valuable safety tools, but understanding that they operate within a broader framework of privacy expectations is essential. In an era when recording technology is everywhere, awareness and restraint are becoming just as important as protection.
Number 6. Jaywalking in newly enforced areas. For years, many pedestrians treated jaywalking as a minor issue, something that might earn a warning at most, or simply be ignored altogether in busy urban areas. But in 2026, the reality is becoming very different, as cities introduce targeted enforcement zones where jaywalking is once again being monitored more closely. While some areas have relaxed traditional jaywalking rules, others have responded to rising pedestrian accidents by increasing enforcement in high-risk corridors, near transit hubs, entertainment districts, and intersections with heavy traffic flow. This has created confusion, with many people believing jaywalking is no longer a concern anywhere, only to discover that certain locations now carry unexpected fines and penalties when crossing outside designated areas. Part of the challenge comes from evolving street design and traffic patterns. With the growth of electric vehicles, bike lanes, and micromobility traffic, pedestrian movement is interacting with more types of road users than ever before. Authorities argue that unpredictable crossings in dense zones increase collision risk not only for pedestrians but also for cyclists and scooter riders who may have limited reaction time. As a result, enforcement is often focused on areas where visibility is restricted, speeds fluctuate, or previous accident data shows repeated safety issues. Many pedestrians are caught off guard because enforcement is not always constant. It may appear in waves or during specific times of day, creating the impression that the rule is rarely applied until a citation suddenly occurs. To avoid problems, pedestrians should pay closer attention to marked crossings, signal timing, and local signage, especially in unfamiliar neighborhoods. Even when traffic appears light, crossing outside designated areas in newly monitored zones can carry financial consequences that feel disproportionate to the action. In today's changing traffic environment, pedestrian habits that once felt harmless are increasingly being evaluated through a safety-first lens.
Number 5. EV charging station misuse fines. As electric vehicles become more common across California, charging stations are no longer viewed as casual parking spots, but as regulated access points with strict usage expectations. In 2026, many drivers are being surprised by fines related to EV charging station misuse, often without realizing they have done anything wrong. One of the most frequent mistakes involves parking in a charging space without actively charging, even for a short period. Drivers may stop just for a minute, run into a store, or leave their vehicle plugged in long after the battery reaches full capacity, unintentionally blocking access for others. With the growing demand for limited charging infrastructure, cities and private property owners are increasing enforcement to prevent congestion and ensure fair access. Another source of penalties comes from misunderstanding time limits and payment requirements. Some charging stations now operate with idle fees, reservation systems, or strict session time restrictions, meaning a fully charged vehicle left occupying the space can trigger automatic penalties. In busy areas, enforcement may be supported by parking monitors, digital tracking, or complaints from other drivers waiting to charge. Non-electric vehicles parking in these spaces, even briefly, face even steeper fines, as authorities treat this behavior similarly to parking in spaces reserved for accessibility needs. What makes the situation frustrating for many drivers is that signage and app notifications can be overlooked, leading to penalties that feel unexpected despite clear rules being in place. To avoid these fines, EV drivers should develop the habit of monitoring charging progress, moving their vehicle promptly after completion, and carefully checking posted time limits or app alerts. Planning charging sessions with awareness of peak demand can also reduce pressure and prevent rushed decisions that lead to mistakes. As EV adoption grows, charging etiquette is evolving from courtesy into enforceable responsibility, making awareness essential for avoiding unnecessary costs.
Number 4. Improper trash and recycling violations. What many residents still see as a simple household chore is quickly turning into one of the most unexpected sources of fines in 2026. Cities across California are increasing enforcement around trash sorting, recycling contamination, and improper disposal practices, and the penalties can be surprisingly expensive. A common mistake involves placing food waste, plastics, or non-recyclable materials in the wrong bins, often without realizing that collection systems are now closely monitored. Waste management agencies are using inspection programs, contamination tracking, and complaint-based enforcement to identify repeat violations, especially in neighborhoods where recycling targets are not being met. For many households, the first sign of a problem is not a warning, it is a notice explaining that their waste was rejected or that a contamination fee has been applied. Part of the crackdown is driven by environmental mandates requiring cities to reduce landfill waste and improve composting participation. This means improper sorting is no longer treated as a harmless mistake, but as behavior that increases processing costs and disrupts sustainability goals. Overflowing bins, leaving trash outside designated pickup times, or discarding bulky items without scheduling proper collection can also trigger complaints from neighbors and attention from local enforcement teams. Multi-unit housing communities face even stricter oversight because shared bins often make contamination harder to trace, leading to collective warnings or fines that affect multiple residents. Many people are shocked to discover that something as routine as throwing away leftovers or packaging incorrectly can now carry real financial consequences. The safest approach is developing a habit of double-checking sorting rules, rinsing recyclables when required, and scheduling proper pickup for large items instead of disposing of them informally. A few extra seconds of attention can prevent rejected collections and unexpected fees. If this surprised you, comment below and share whether recycling rules in your area have become stricter. And for more updates on hidden fines and everyday rules that could impact your wallet, like the video and subscribe to the channel so you stay one step ahead. Number 3. Noise complaints triggering financial penalties. Noise is one of those everyday issues most people don't think twice about. Music playing during the gathering, a barking dog, late-night home projects, or even loud vehicles passing through residential streets. But in 2026, noise complaints are increasingly leading to financial penalties, especially in densely populated neighborhoods where residents are more sensitive to disturbances. What many people fail to realize is that enforcement is no longer limited to extreme situations. Repeated complaints about moderate noise levels, particularly during designated quiet hours, can escalate quickly from warnings to fines. With the rise of remote work and people spending more time at home, tolerance for ongoing noise disruptions has decreased, prompting local authorities to take complaints more seriously than in previous years. Technology is also playing a role in stricter enforcement. Some communities are adopting noise monitoring tools, complaint tracking systems, and coordinated reporting platforms that make it easier for disturbances to be documented over time. This means a single loud event may not trigger consequences, but repeated disturbances, even if each one seems minor, can create a record that leads to enforcement action. Vehicle-related noise, including modified exhaust systems, loud engine revving, or nighttime street racing sounds, has become a particularly common source of complaints. Additionally, short-term rental properties and frequent gatherings have drawn attention in residential areas where consistent noise disrupts neighbors' routines, increasing the likelihood of citations or fines. To avoid problems, residents should be mindful of quiet hours, volume levels, and how sound travels beyond their property boundaries, especially during evenings and early mornings.
Small adjustments like lowering outdoor music, managing pet noise, and being considerate during home improvement activities can significantly reduce complaint risks. In communities where living spaces are closely connected, awareness and courtesy are becoming just as important as the activity itself.
Number 2. Illegal parking in smart enforcement zones. Parking has always been a common source of frustration for drivers, but in 2026, the risks are increasing due to the expansion of smart enforcement zones that rely on cameras, sensors, and digital tracking rather than traditional patrol checks. Many drivers still assume they can quickly stop in a restricted area without consequences, running into a store, waiting briefly in a loading zone, or leaving their vehicle in a space that seems inactive at the moment. However, smart enforcement systems are designed to detect these short stops automatically, meaning violations can be recorded even when no officer is physically present. This has led to a surge in fines issued for behavior drivers previously believed was unlikely to be noticed, creating a sense that parking enforcement has become both invisible and unavoidable. One of the most confusing aspects of these zones is how quickly rules can change depending on time, traffic flow, or location priority. Areas near transit stops, bike lanes, delivery corridors, and school zones often operate under dynamic parking restrictions, where legal parking at one time of day can become a violation just hours later. Drivers who rely on habit rather than signage or digital meter updates are especially vulnerable. Additionally, double parking, blocking curb ramps, or stopping in rideshare pickup areas can trigger automated detection, with citations issued through license plate recognition technology. Because enforcement is continuous, even brief violations intended as harmless convenience can result in penalties that feel disproportionate to the action. To reduce risk, drivers should pay closer attention to digital parking signs, curb markings, and mobile parking apps that reflect real-time restrictions. Taking a few extra moments to confirm parking legality can prevent costly surprises later. As cities prioritize traffic flow, accessibility, and delivery efficiency, parking behavior is increasingly shaped by automated systems that reward awareness and penalize assumptions.
Number 1. Distracted driving beyond phones. When people hear the term distracted driving, most immediately think about texting or talking on a phone. But in 2026, enforcement is expanding far beyond mobile devices, targeting a wide range of everyday distractions that drivers often consider harmless. Eating while driving, adjusting navigation screens, interacting with in-car touch controls, reaching for objects, grooming, or even prolonged conversations with passengers can now be interpreted as behaviors that reduce driver attention and increase risk. The shift reflects growing safety research, showing that cognitive and manual distractions, not just phone usage, contribute significantly to accidents. As a result, authorities are paying closer attention to any activity that takes a driver's focus away from the road, even if the behavior does not seem obviously dangerous in the moment. Modern vehicles are part of the challenge. Large infotainment displays, complex dashboard menus, and integrated apps encourage drivers to interact with technology while in motion, creating subtle distractions that accumulate over time. Additionally, roadside cameras and observational enforcement are becoming more capable of identifying behaviors associated with inattentive driving, leading to citations that drivers may not expect. What surprises many people is that enforcement does not always depend on proving a specific device violation. It can be based on the broader determination that a driver failed to maintain proper control or awareness. This means a driver who never touches their phone could still face penalties if other distracting behaviors are observed during traffic stops or incident investigations. To stay safe and avoid violations, drivers should aim for minimal in-motion interaction with anything unrelated to driving, preparing navigation, adjusting settings, and securing items before starting a trip. Even small distractions can reduce reaction time in ways drivers do not immediately notice. As vehicles become more technologically advanced, maintaining focused and intentional driving habits is becoming less about avoiding one specific behavior and more about protecting overall attention behind the wheel. What makes these fines truly dangerous is not the amount, it's the lack of awareness. Most people are not intentionally breaking rules, they are simply following habits that no longer match today's stricter enforcement, smarter monitoring, and evolving regulations. A small mistake, a few seconds of impatience, or a moment of distraction can now turn into a costly surprise that impacts your finances and daily life. If this video helped you stay one step ahead, comment which mistake shocked you the most and share your experience. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch our next video because staying informed today can save you thousands tomorrow.